Okay, so this is long overdue, but my wife and I recently welcomed our second baby boy to the family. He is just adorable. And naturally I wanted to take this opportunity to show him off, but also to do an update on some previous baby-related videos I've done. Because one, I feel that this is important information, and two, I feel that my family has some relatively unique perspectives, but also some common experiences that just aren't talked about openly enough or honestly enough. Now, frankly, I don't think anyone in the world has more questions than new parents, and for good reason. So the more first-hand information that's out there, the better. And don't worry, I'm going to break all this information up into 3 short videos for easier viewing. Anyway, here's another look at babies, breastfeeding, and billing, starting with part 1, go to the hospital like a pro. I'm going to answer 2 questions in this video that I feel are very important and not adequately addressed anywhere else. When should we go to the hospital, and what should we pack? If you're planning to deliver your baby in a hospital, you may be wondering when you should actually hop in the car and go. TV shows and movies make it look like your water will spontaneously break, and then it's a mad dash to the hospital. Now, while that certainly can happen, it's actually pretty uncommon, and your experience can and will vary. The current conventional wisdom says to wait until your contractions are consistently 5 minutes apart and last about 60 to 90 seconds each. In the days leading up to actual labor, you may experience numerous Braxton Hicks contractions, which are also called false labor. They're basically like practice contractions. Your pituitary gland will pump out a few extra spurts of oxytocin just to see how your body will handle it. It's actually a really good system. But typically, when the early stage of true labor is actually starting, you'll start feeling stronger, more painful contractions, and they'll start getting closer and closer together, as well as lasting longer. And that's when you want to start timing them. During your first pregnancy, it can take a long time, like hours, for them to get down to 5 minutes apart. But in subsequent pregnancies, it can happen a lot faster. Now keep in mind that when I say usually, I'm using that term very loosely because every pregnancy is going to be different and potentially unpredictable. But just for reference, when my wife started going into labor with our first son, she started feeling noticeable contractions at about 4 a.m. and it took 10 hours for them to get down to that 5-minute mark. And when we went to the hospital, it was another 26 hours and a lot of IV oxytocin before she actually gave birth. This second time, she started having contractions at about 11 a.m., and by 1 p.m., that's only 2 hours later, they were 5 minutes apart. So we called our OB, and the nurse rather breathlessly told us to get to the hospital immediately, and she was calling the doctor to meet us there. We got to the hospital around 2 p.m., and by 6 p.m., just 4 hours later, we had this guy. So, very different experience. So although there are general guidelines out there, and they're good to look at and keep in mind, do not treat them like gospel truths. Talk to your doctor and listen to your gut, or, that general region. We made a rookie mistake our first time. My wife packed a full bag with several changes of clothes for day and night, plus a full complement of toiletries. I packed nothing for myself because I was thinking that all of my focus was going to be on her and the baby. Well, let me tell you, after sitting in that delivery room for a day and a half, followed by 2 more days in the postpartum room waiting for discharge, we wished we'd had some advice to follow in that regard. So, here you go. Moms, you really don't need all that much stuff. It's hard to estimate how long you might be there, but 1 or 2 changes of comfy, pajama-style clothes are probably all you'll need. You'll be in a hospital gown for much of the time, and in fact you could spend the entire time in a hospital gown right up until discharge. They'll give you as many gowns as you ask for. But they're not terribly comfortable, and if your delivery was uncomplicated, they'll let you change into your own clothes pretty quickly, so bring something comfortable and soft like pajamas or baggy sweats. Hospitals also provide some basic toiletries, but you'll probably want your own toothbrush, toothpaste, shampoo, that sort of thing. Now you can also bring makeup if you want, but speaking as a father as well as a nurse, no one is expecting you to look your best right now. In fact, it's a little bit jarring to me when I see women getting wheeled out of the hospital and they're all made up and dressed up like they're getting ready for a night out on the town. I'm just like, come on, this is the most inarguable free pass you could ever ask for. Relax, enjoy it. But, I mean, that's just me. You do you. If you just don't like going out in public without makeup, that's totally up to you. Just keep in mind that those postpartum rooms aren't very big, so the more you bring with you, the more you'll have underfoot to trip over, and the more stuff you'll have to carry back to the car along with your new baby. Now, as for dads and non-delivering moms, don't forget to take care of yourself too, especially if you're going to be there the whole time. The hospital's not going to give you any gowns or any toiletries, so make sure you've packed the basics for yourself. Same rules apply, comfy clothes, because you're going to be cooped up in a small room for a couple of days, probably having to sleep on a not terribly comfortable couch or chair. And then toothbrush, hairbrush, all those basic things. Basically pack what you would for a quick weekend trip. For the baby, just a onesie or some footy pajamas, depending on the weather at the time. Babies don't thermoregulate well, so err on the side of extra warmth. Think about hats, socks, blankets, that sort of thing. Now this is called a swaddler or a sleep sack. It's kind of a T-shaped, little pouch. These are super convenient compared to swaddling in a blanket. And of course you'll need a car seat and a carrier before they let you leave. In fact, most of the time they'll ask to see it and inspect it before they let you take your baby out of the hospital, so make sure you have it handy. Now, if you don't know how to install it in your car, and experienced parents, don't laugh. It's more common than you think. We were all newbies once, Just tell the nurse. They'll definitely be glad to help you. I promise there is not a single question you can ask at this stage that is stupid.
Can your baby get pregnant if you have sex while pregnant? I think my brain just committed suicide.
Okay, I stand corrected. But just don't be that person and you'll be fine. On a side note, it's also important to know what you can leave the hospital with. Now, we didn't know it the first time, but they stock your room with diapers, wipes, feminine hygiene pads, disposable undergarments, sometimes even things like ointments and shampoo for the baby. And you can take almost all of that with you. It's not a lot, but it's at least enough diapers and pads to get you through the first day or two. You're gonna wish you had them. Those things add up. So clean out that room before you go. You've earned it. Okay, that's it for part 1. Stay tuned for part 2. Got milk? Until then, take a moment to hit those like and subscribe buttons or hit me up with a comment. Thanks, and Finn and I will be looking forward to seeing you here next time. You love that plant. Oh, come on. Oh. You are so squirmy. Show everybody a big smile. Show everybody a big smile.